Worthless. I did everything for you.
Opaline! Opaline!
Misty ran through the dark corridors of the castle at a speed that would have made even the fastest of Pegasi jealous. She had a huge smile on her face as she did so, feelings of accomplishment and excitement encasing her entire being. She couldn't wait to show the Dark Alicorn her latest accomplishments, and she knew that this was the day Opaline would finally be proud of her. It had taken a long time and so many sleepless nights of elaborate planning. She had to scale the walls of the Crystal Bright House, evade the prying eyes of the meddlesome Pegasus Zip, who always seemed to have it out for her. She had to creep around each room carefully, making sure none of the other ponies woke up. And she had to sing him back to sleep after he almost started crying and ruining everything. But despite all that, in spite of all the odds that plagued her that very night, Misty had finally done it. She had finally successfully dragon-napped Sparky Sparkeroni, the one source of the most potent magic in Equestria, and the very creature whose absence rendered Opaline powerless to take back what was hers. So, Misty ran with Sparky and Hoof, and she admired how much of a heavy sleeper the baby dragon turned out to be the whole way there. In spite of all her shouting and cheering, he didn't wake up once. Not even as her hooves made loud clip-clop sounds on the floor did he even stir. Perhaps she was a good singer after all. As she neared the throne room, she felt a brief twinge of remorse for what was inevitably going to happen in the morning. Her friends, those meddlesome ponies would discover Sparky missing in the morning and go into a panic. But deep down, she promised herself that she would return him once his magic was drained. Once she got her cutie mark and Opaline finally realized how much she truly needed her, Misty would return Sparky and explain everything. Even if she had to spend nights in Hitch's sheriff's office locked in a jail cell, she would do the right thing. After all, she didn't have to worry about staying there long term. Opaline would soon come and bail her out, remarking on how much she frequently got herself into trouble. They would laugh over it, and once Opaline took her rightful place on the throne, Misty would become a princess too. She would be showered with all the love and attention in the world, and she would finally feel like she belonged somewhere. Family was a weird concept for Misty. After all, she barely knew hers. Opaline had found her when she was a small filly, and raised her in the Dark Castle for most of her life. The Alicorn was the only mother Misty ever knew in her whole life. She wasn't the best, as she yelled at her a lot, and ordered her around. But for all she knew, that was just how family was. For all she knew, parents yelled at their foals all the time and put them down. So then, why did she desire for anything more? It was a strange paradox that she never got. She always desired the affection of Opaline, but she didn't even know what that felt like. The only taste she got of what was considered a normal life was with those other 5 ponies. For some reason, the way they treated each other felt different to how she was treated on a daily basis. They would smile, laugh, and enjoy each other's company. They would tell stories and sing songs together. It felt like bliss. Of course, she knew that those ponies were the enemy. No matter how nicely they treated her, it didn't matter. No matter how kind Izzy was to her, it didn't matter. The fact that Pip stuck up for her and took the blame didn't matter. The only pony who mattered was Opaline, and helping out with her plan. She had fun at the Bright House, but it was time to fulfill her destiny and take her place beside the one true queen, her one true family. With a determined smile and a regained resolve, she pushed open the doors of the throne room, feeling the cold air around her cheer her on as she stepped purposefully into the chamber. The cold, stuffy air of the throne room used to scare her, but now it was a companion. It was her cheerleader, egging her on with every step she took. This was the moment she had been waiting for her whole life.
Hey, Opaline!
Misty called out.
Look what I found!
The dark purple alicorn breathed a heavy sigh of exasperation upon hearing her dim-witted hench pony's voice. Opaline was an imposing figure, and all who she commanded took her seriously, before she was defeated and sealed away from Equestria by Princess Twilight Sparkle. She stepped from her throne towards the blue unicorn, like an exhausted mother would when dealing with a small foal, her deep blue eyes narrowing down at her subordinates.
Misty,
Opaline lectured her.
if you're going to make an entrance, at least make it subtle. You know I would rather not see you. This better be important information or I will not hear it. I have no time for your silly antics.
Misty grinned.
Well, are you ready to see the surprise of your life? It did take me a while as I did have to draw up some secret battle plans, but... Just get on with it, Misty!
Picking up Sparky from her back, Misty held up the baby dragon for Opaline to see, beaming from ear to ear.
Presenting your ultimate salvation!
Opaline gasped.
That dragon... However did you do it, Misty? Been a long time coming, I know.
Misty explained.
But I finally pulled it off last night. You will not believe how elaborate the stunt was. There was the blueprinting, the sneaking around, singing the dragon a lullaby, more sneaking around, and finally, my daring escape. I barely made it out alive.
Misty was so proud of herself that she didn't even notice the fact that Opaline wasn't even paying attention to her. She had taken Sparky, who was just beginning to wake up, and started to bounce the dragon around from hoof to hoof like a ball. Sparky cooed and gurgled in response. She smiled evilly and held him up with her magic.
You brilliant filly.
Opaline congratulated her.
I am so proud of you. You've given me the means to which I can finally exact my revenge on Sunny Star Scout and her friends. And finally take their magic.
Misty never thought that she'd hear those words in her life. She swallowed back tears of joy as she did not want to seem weak in front of Opaline. Not now. Not when this was her moment of triumph. Instead, she smiled shyly as this was the only way she could contain her emotions. When Opaline set Sparky down on the floor, Misty started bouncing up and down in anticipation, despite the fact that she wanted to contain her emotions just a second ago. She couldn't help it. She was just so excited and nervous at the same time.
So, what does this mean? What does this mean? Cutie mark time? I mean, there's no rush, of course, but we could do that. That'd be great, you know? You know?
Misty had to admit she was terrible at keeping her emotions in check. Opaline glanced at her.
Yes, I suppose you have earned it. After all, this was what I wanted from you. Our invasion shall begin at dawn. Come here, Misty. Let me see what I can do.
Eagerly, Misty ran up to where Opaline was standing, skidding to a halt mere inches away in order to avoid crashing into her and ruining the moment. Opaline put her hoof up in thought.
Now, let's see. Oh, I got it. Hold still, Misty. You'll feel a brief pinch, and that's it. Oh, it's finally happening! It's finally happening!
Misty exclaimed with unfiltered enthusiasm. She stood where she was obediently, as Opaline's horn began to glow light purple. She shut her eyes tight, imagining the places she could go and what her cutie mark might be. She wasn't skilled in many things, but maybe the spell would magically make her good at something? She didn't know. She thought of a mouse, as she got attached to the one that Opaline used to spy on the ponies. Or maybe a tiara, as representative of her status as Opaline's #1 assistant. She thought of a dragon symbol, as she got along well with Sparky. Or maybe a music note as she sang Sparky to sleep.
No, a bird. Birds were graceful. No, a tree. Trees look nice, and a palm tree would look good on me.
She thought. After a couple seconds, she could no longer hear the sounds of Opaline's horn. She opened her eyes, checked her flank, and saw... nothing. She checked the other side of her flank, and still... nothing.
I don't understand.
Misty was trying to comprehend the situation. This was supposed to be it. This was supposed to be the moment she got her cutie mark. This was supposed to be the moment she would be normal. What was going on? Opaline stood there with a cruel smirk on her face, watching her check every inch of her body several times.
Cutie marks only go on flanks, Misty. There's no need to check your forehead. But...
Misty shook her head.
You told me that I could finally have my cutie mark! Does it take a while to appear?
Opaline rolled her eyes.
Yes, it takes 48 hours. I can't give you your cutie mark, Misty!
With those words, Misty felt the entire world collapse in on her. The one thing she had hoped for her entire life disappearing like breath on a mirror.
Opaline had lied? No, she would never do that. She wouldn't.
She valued her. She loved her. Sure, she was a bit cruel at times, but that was because she wanted what was best for her. Right?
Right? You... What? Cutie marks are meant to be earned, Misty.
Opaline told her.
I don't know why you did not receive one during your many escapades outside the palace, but no pony can give you a cutie mark. But... you told me...
Opaline cackled heartily.
And you believe that? You're even dumber than I thought you were. I thought eventually you would realize the truth and never bring it up again. But clearly you did not. It's no wonder I was able to manipulate you with that in the first place. But the spell...
Misty tried.
You told me it was a simple pinch, and that's it. You knew the spell. I made that up, Misty,
replied Opaline.
It's very easy to pretend to cast a spell. Just light up your horn and stop 1 second later. And your eyes were so closed that you didn't even see me do it. You're so naive.
Misty took several steps back, trying to wrap her head around what she was hearing. The entire reason she did anything for Opaline was a lie. Everything she ever believed was a lie. She felt tears come to her eyes again, but this time they weren't tears of joy, but of sadness. She wasn't getting her cutie mark. She would never be special. She never was special. I have a feeling Misty's gonna say some words that she normally never would say. Just a hunch. I cannot wait for the next part, though. Anywho, let's get on to our trustworthy donators. Top donators are 630, BadassWaffle, Only One Thing, Ceru, Orion, and IronSky. Darkside, Rayden, Narwhals, Blackmoonheart, Pastel, Skies, Austin, Rolan, Stu, Hex, Swordfeather, Mordred, Omicron, Lyrae, Winscythe 9852, Will, Chris, Twinkie, Ride Soul, Shadow Moon, Luigi 88, Chancellor Crust, Big Smoke 369, Jesse Smith, Bobcat GJF, and many more amazing people. Thank you all so much for watching this video and live life to the fullest.